And welcome to this week's edition of Politico. I am your host, RJ, along with
Earl Sparrow. What's going on, people?
So we had a pretty tragic weekend. This weekend, 2 police officers were slain. Winjan Lee, been trying to practice that so I wouldn't butcher his name. He's 32 years old, or was 32 years old, and Rafael Ramos, 40-year-old. They were both from Brooklyn. Both were shot execution style while sitting in their police cruiser on Saturday afternoon. Now, they were shot by this man, Ismaili Brazel. I don't know. So he's from New York, from what I can tell. He's been around. Apparently several arrests and, of course, some mental health issues. Now, a couple of things to look at with this. This gentleman posted that he was going to do something to some police officers, and then he went out and did it. Now, this was a toxic situation, especially in the city of New York, due to the strained relationships between the community and the citizens of New York that feel that they have been put upon. Now, that's one aspect. The other aspect is that the mayor, de Blasio of New York City, who is married to an African-American woman, made a statement a few weeks ago about telling his son to be wary or to be careful when he is around police officers. Of course, law enforcement did not like it then, and they pretty much hate it right now. So the situation is really tense in New York City. The mayor has asked the protesters to back off and not go out into the street, but apparently they didn't listen. They didn't want to hear it. Now, what we have is a situation where the citizens are not listening to the mayor, and we also have a situation where law enforcement is not listening to the mayor because according to the Fraternal Order of Police of New York City, they do not trust the mayor, and they feel that he should be recalled. So the question becomes, what now, New York? So what do you think?
I think, again, there's a few things that baffles me about the whole situation. Number one, how the person that Brazil, Ismail, got, how did he become a folk vigilante and representative for the Black Lives Matter and all of this other movement? When it, what was the guy shot Gabby Giffords, all that stuff. People then say, oh, wait a minute, this is all white people are revolting now. No, it was just one strange guy that had some mental health issues and was going weird the whole time anyway. When it comes to the guy that shot the cops, and they say execution style, and that's something that I'll touch on a little bit later too. Because I feel like Tamir was shot execution style. I think the John Crawford in Ohio was shot execution style. They didn't even see the bullet coming, just like these cops didn't see the bullet coming. But how did they become all of a sudden he's a disciple of Al Sharpton and all this other kind of crap when he was really a fugitive on the run who shot his girlfriend and already knew he was going to be caught? Decided to take his life anyway. So how that one person turns into a representative of all of these protesters. He probably never went to any of the protests himself, but because he put something on Facebook on his Instagram page, now he's listening to President Obama and he's listening to what Mayor de Blasio said and all this other kind of stuff. That's a bunch of crap.
All right. So, and this is the type of situation that happens regardless of the situation. You mentioned Gabby Giffords. When the guy did shoot Gabby Giffords, of course, on the other side, all of a sudden Sarah Palin was at fault, Rush Limbaugh. There were all kinds of accusations about who was at fault. Some articles were even accusing Sarah Palin for being directly involved because she put on her elections board, she would put targets on districts that she was trying to capture. So this happens anytime that something like this happens. Everyone runs to their ideological corners, and decide that it's everybody else's fault. We had this situation a few years ago when William Teller, who was an abortion doctor in Nebraska, was gunned down in front of his church congregation by a man that swore by Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck. Now, many people said that it's their fault because if they wouldn't have been calling him Teller the baby killer and saying all these mean, nasty things about him and about the fact that he does abortions, then the guy never would have shot him. That's one side. So now, because Al Sharpton and Mayor de Blasio have become the de facto leaders of the situation that's going on in New York and popping up around the country, now you have a situation where, of course, they are going to get the blame when something like this takes place. So right now we have pretty much a powder keg in the city of New York. Again, Mayor de Blasio, of course, who up to this point have been seen on the side of the protesters, all of a sudden he seems to have lost all credibility with them because he did ask them to stand down. And of course, last night and this evening, from my understanding, they have taken to the streets once again. Of course, the question that they are asking is that there have been several killings by law enforcement around the country, especially in New York City, where there were no timeouts. There were no moments of silence. So why should they step back in this situation?
I really think that there's a disconnect. And I don't know if it's because people can't see it or people choose not to try to see it. There cannot be, it's an absolute thing. Mm-hmm. We talked about that online about absolutes. Mm-hmm. If I'm anti-police brutality, that means by the fact I'm anti-police. And that's not right. And if you're pro-police, are you pro-police brutality too? No. So it's kind of two separate things. That man, the fact that these people are being buried and everything else like that, that has nothing to do with Eric Garner. It has nothing to do with equal rights, equal people, equal treatment under the law and the eyes of the law. People, African Americans not being shot first and not talked down like other people. We see videos online all the time of white people with guns and upset and everything else. And I have my Second Amendment rights to have my gun, and they're talking everything else like that. But let me reach for a remote, I'm dead, because they were in fear for their life. So that's what the marches and all that stuff is about. It's not about all police are corrupt. It's not about all police create or overuse their authority. It's not about that. It's not about the lives of those two people. And especially since people want to use anything they can to stop the protest. They're using, in my opinion, the death of those two cops.
Heroes.
You call them heroes. I'll call them heroes. They were doing what they needed to do. They were serving for public safety and everything else like that. Mm-hmm. That march is not about, but that still doesn't change the justice system, the criminal system that we have. It does not change it. It's not about bad cops. They're not bad cops. If they were bad cops and they were marching about bad cops, okay, that's something similar. But that march, the march and the death of these people, the movement and the death of these two officers are totally separate.
The issue, it becomes an issue because in this situation especially, it's been one-sided. In other words, what we see is there are many that are marching against law enforcement, and at the same time, you don't see law enforcement participating. So it has been that it's a us against them type of mentality. So rather that is what they want it to be perceived as, that is what many people are seeing, and unfortunately it has caused many people to choose sides. So we end up with a situation in which Eric Garner was attempting to make an arrest, talk to him, however you want to do it. He ended up dying. So now, so the protests about he was choked, and again, that's something that's up in the air at this time. it's really hard to say I can't breathe while you're being choked, but some people can do it.
He stopped saying
I'm sure.
I can't breathe when he couldn't breathe.
Yeah, when he died.
When he was dying. So obviously.
So he was not being choked. That's obvious. So he ended up losing his life. Now, the real issue becomes whether or not law enforcement needed to approach him in the first place. He felt that they didn't need to. The thing that was left out of the narrative is that many of the shop owners along that block had complained about him because he was hurting their business because they had to pay taxes for cigarettes, he didn't, blah, blah, blah. So there's two dynamics that were at play. So we end up in a situation where law enforcement feels that the new mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, has come out and they felt that he had turned his back on them. Now enter Rudy Giuliani, who, for all intents and purposes, up until this situation started to become national headlines, nobody cared what Rudy Giuliani did. He was off with his mistress somewhere. Nobody really cared. Of course, Rudy Giuliani went on a TV show and he started talking about blacks and the crime in the community. And again, everyone ran to their side and said, oh, he can't do that, he can't do that. So we end in a situation now where nobody's listening to anyone because you have two gentlemen that have lost their lives, their families, their children are being raised without fathers. And there are some good situations. The mortgages of both these officers are going to be paid by an organization in New York City, which is a great thing. But we end in a situation where a gentleman posted that he was going to take the lives of two cops. He said that this is what I am going to do, and then he proceeded to do it. So where does the blame lie? Where does the fault lie? Of course, the liberal side is that it lies with law enforcement because there has been a negative interaction between the community and law enforcement for several years. And of course, law enforcement is saying that no, it falls on the press, it falls on Bill de Blasio, it falls on Al Sharpton. So if no one's listening, if police are not participating, how do you fix this situation?
You have to, there are three sides of the story. There's my side, there's your side, and there's the truth, which is a mix of both.
Okay.
What you will not get, and this is how it all works together. You have to get the police union and the police and the chiefs and everything say, yes, we do have some bad apples out there. Yes, we will prosecute those bad apples. We will weed them out. We will do everything on our behalf to act on your complaints and everything else like that and get that. We are not perfect. We are not angels. We are human. We make mistakes. When we do make mistakes, we will do everything in our power to correct that mistake. You're not hearing that. You're not hearing that from the police union and everything else. As soon as somebody's killed, they go that company line and get that blue wall of silence. We're going to support our own, whether he's right or wrong. We're not going to say anything. We're going to toe the line. We're going to do whatever we need to do, not prosecute. We're going to mess up the evidence. We're going to do whatever we need to do to keep our hands clean because we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. We're at war with them. On the other hand, you have people that are criminal, have a criminal element, no matter red, black, blue, green, or whatever. They can't say I'm innocent every time. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm perfect. I was just minding my own business. And when he said you're being arrested or stopped or something like that, I said yes, sir. And then I put my hands up in the air and then I laid down and I was just perfect. I didn't say anything. I didn't resist arrest. So there is the truth of the matter is you got a mix of some people that are a little ready, trigger happy, and some people that are trigger happy and that are ready on both sides that want to fight. And when they fight, they say it's his fault, it's her fault, it's their fault, or something like that. So on the police side, somebody needs to say, yes, we do have bad apples. Yes, we are doing our job to try to work that out. Nobody will admit that. I can look through the police union statements and all this other kind of stuff like that. They might as well, they have a badge. When they give them the badge, they give them angel wings too because they become perfect. They're not human anymore. They're perfect. There's no way they can make any mistakes. That's why almost 99% of them don't get indicted in time they get in trouble or something like that, because they're perfect. Almost there. On the other hand, Mike Brown, did he have some issues? Probably, yeah. Was he perfect? No. Trayvon Martin, was he perfect? No. Eric Garner, he had a rap sheet this long. Was he perfect? No. But how do we work together? Yes, we'll work with these people that need to get their act together. Yes, you guys will work on those people to get their act together, and we'll meet in the middle. But that requires us all to say, yes, we have issues on this side. Yes, we have issues on this side. How can we work together to fix these issues? But if the police and the union say we are perfect and we're not going to make a mistake, it was always we're going to do it by the book and everything else like that, and it's you guys' fault that everything's going wrong, and it's your fault that that gun it didn't have a tip on it. It was your fault that this wide. That's how we get into nobody's listening to each other. How can the mayor is supposed to support blindly the police union? The mayor can't support the citizens and say, well, maybe there's a possibility that the NYPD jump the trigger a little bit. That's offensive. That's worth them turning their backs on the officer or something like that. Because you have to have 100% support of us, not them. And that's ridiculous. And that's how we get in this mess that we're in now. And that's how de Blasio is in the mess that he's in now. He's supposed to blindly support, without knowing any of the facts, whatever the police union or whatever the police say, because they're flawless. They're machines, they're perfect angels, and they never make mistakes. So to dare question his son and say he wants to be careful, his son to be careful around police officers because they might think he fits the description of somebody that just killed something. How dare he say that? Because we're perfect. We'll take care of his son. We'll recognize that he's a human being just like we are and we want to go home. That doesn't happen. And until you hear a police union or somebody say, yeah, we do have some bad apples. Yeah, we do need to work on something. We are testing these people to see if they have history of checking their Facebook pages and all this other kind of stuff, seeing if they're in a part of the KKK like some people in Florida a few months ago. We are doing what we can to make sure we represent you as well as we can. That's not happening. You're supposed to assume the police officer is always right, and that's not the case.
Well, first off, it is happening. It's constantly happening.
The police union are saying that, yeah, we dropped the ball on this one.
Yes. It's constantly happening, and the way that you know that it's happening is when something is presented to a grand jury, that means that there is a suspicion that something may not be right. An officer, anytime he is involved in a shooting, anytime he fires his firearm, he has to take a couple of days off. There's always things that are put in place to help this out. Now, we end up in a situation where you have two individuals. You have one person that is enforcing the law. The other has a record of breaking the law. It's real simple.
Tamir Rice didn't break any law. John Crawford wasn't breaking the law.
Whose record, or who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe the person who's enforcing the law, or do we believe the person that is breaking the law? Now, Tamir Rice. The situation with Tamir Rice, yeah.
What was the law he broke?
Remember, the police were called to the scene.
Brandishing a
firearm. Right. He was brandishing a firearm. Right? Do you agree?
That's a crime.
Yeah. So he was brandishing a firearm, and you can go online and look at the video. He was pointing at traffic as people were passing by. He had a gun that turned out to be a fake gun. He had removed all of the stickers, and he was pointing at traffic. Cops were called to the scene. Did the cops, was their approach right? I don't think so. I think they were dead wrong in the way that they approached that situation.
Dead wrong.
Now let me ask you a question. You pull up on a situation. The person has a gun, or what you think is a gun. Do you wait for him to shoot?
No, I don't pull up on him in the first place.
Okay, boom, there you go. The situation where the police officers rolled up was totally wrong. Murder, no. The situation and the way that they approached it was totally wrong.
His death was declared a murder. He died.
Well, yeah, no, it was declared a homicide.
Homicide, yes. Homicide.
But that's easy. Whenever you don't die from your own hand, it's a homicide. So when you when the cops pulled up, the officer who was driving, in my estimation, was the person who was more responsible than the person who actually pulled the trigger. Why? Because you pulled me up in a dangerous situation. You pulled me directly in front of a person who was brandishing a firearm. I had no choice but to start shooting. I don't wait for you to start shooting first. Now, unfortunately, this boy, this baby, lost his life because the officers, whether it's training or whatever the reason may be, the situation, as far as the way they approached it, he was killed within a couple of seconds. They attempted to cover it up by saying they told him 3 or 4 times to put his gun down. The video proved all of that was a lie. So there is some situations, which is under investigation right now by the Justice Department and by the Ohio State's Attorney's Office, looking into the conduct of the police department in this situation. But the death of Tamir Rice was not murder. It wasn't a cop pulling up and attempting to kill someone. It was simply self-defense. He pulled up, the gun was there, he jumped out and started shooting.
Your life or mine. That was, if you wanted to shoot, he shoot to kill.
Exactly.
Shot and killed.
That's what they're supposed to do.
He didn't mean to.
That's what they're supposed to. I didn't say he didn't mean to. He should have meant to kill him because he thought he had a gun. If I think that you have a gun and you are pointing it at me or you're pointing it at my family member, I'm not going to wait and ask you if you got it at Toys R Us. If I have my gun, I'm shooting first. Now, if I find out later that it was a toy gun, the tears will flow, especially for a 12-year-old kid. Nobody, to me, if that officer isn't heartbroken right now, he's got issues. So we end up in a situation that's very tragic, and it may be based on a lot of situations, but definitely not murder.
But we
have to wrap up this session. We're going to wrap this session up. We will be coming back. We also have Ms. Avella Claire is going to be joining us this evening, so make sure you keep it right here at Politico on CTV1.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
And welcome back to Politico. As you can see, we have a new person here, Mrs.
Arvella Claire.
And welcome.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Okay, now, last segment, and I do apologize for this because I meant to also start it out with speaking of her, Mrs. Shanika Thompson, who was 29 years old. She was the original victim of Ismael Brazil during this situation. She was shot outside of Baltimore, Maryland. She was an employee of the Baltimore Department of Welfare. Maryland Department of Welfare. She also was an Air Force reservist, college graduate. Mr. Brisley barely finished high school. Yeah, Mr. Shooterman barely finished high school.
10th grade.
Now, here's the thing. Yeah, 10th grade, dropped out in the 10th. So here's the thing. What was she doing with him? Now, what's in my mind is that she is another victim of the glamorization of a thug culture. Because too many are willing to accept people who perpetrate, as we used to say, I don't know if they still say that in their lives, whether it's through family fighting with the criminals over the police. So the thug culture. And Arvella, when will black women learn?
Well, you're talking about a difficult subject. I mean, love.
Was that one of those questions
we
where
can assume a lot of things about their relationship. The point is we don't have all the facts.
Yeah.
I would like to assume that they found things that they had in common. And those things
She could
didn't
read, he
include
couldn't.
anything illegal. But for some reason, there was an attraction.
Yeah.
But I think we victimized her all over again by
No.
stressing the fact that
She should have been
she
with somebody
was
else.
once in a relationship with this man.
You don't think she's thinking
and
that
he
now?
turned out to commit a crime that we're all concerned about.
You don't think that she's thinking that right now? That she shouldn't have been with him?
I think we all go through that. You know, I've had my mistakes in life, and I wouldn't hold that against her.
But you
I
don't
think-
believe the thug culture has anything to do with the types of men that some women are choosing to be with?
I can assume a lot of things. Just
But
like
I just
you're
want
doing
your
with
opinion.
This particular
I want your
relationship.
opinion.
The truth is we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might have had things in common that we would never imagine, and it may have nothing to do with anything that was illegal.
Does the thug culture have an impact on our community?
I think it has an impact.
Okay.
Yes. Just about everything we experience in life has some impact.
Okay.
Whether or not that has anything to do with the nature of their relationship is a totally separate issue.
Okay.
I would like to assume that this was someone from her past who made a mistake. She was obviously prepared not to continue that relationship because it was over.
She should have let him
And-
kill himself.
Oh, no.
She talked him down, and he ended up shooting her. So
Well, I think if it was
Two
a
cops would
friend
be
of
alive,
mine,
she wouldn't have been
especially
shot.
Someone I'd been in a relationship with before,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to see them kill themselves. I wouldn't want them to be violent against anyone, you know, including
Especially
me.
me.
Yes, absolutely, especially me. But I think we've all had bad relationships, and I think her
Yeah, that's a
intent
bad
was
one.
just to, you know, de-escalate, you know, his anger. But unfortunately, he found a new target, her and the police officer.
okay.
I think it's sad. There are ladies that will pass up a good guy in a second. He's a nerd. He's lame. He don't smoke. He don't got a big car and all this other kind
So
of
he
stuff.
he just
He
described
go to
my
church.
dating
He's
life.
a this, other kind of stuff like that. So to say that there's, I wouldn't say that's an African American culture thing. I mean, there are cultures from Hispanic culture, white culture.
But that's not the question. The question is about the black community.
The question is,
There are no white people here.
is this why do women, I won't say a black woman, I'll say
No.
why do women are attracted to bad boys? It's on TV, it's on the news, it's on movies, it's that, Grease and all these other ones. They want the guy that's smoking cigarettes and doing all that other kind of stuff, not the guy that's answering questions and getting A's on the test. That's a part of everyday life. I think that's not an African American phenomenon. I think that's an American phenomenon. It might not be. It might be a world phenomenon. I don't know. in Kenya.
Yeah.
Do the bad boys get the most girls that want to do it, or marry them, or something like that, or do the quiet, shy ones? That's what the girls go for. I don't know, but to say all we know about this situation is they were an odd pairing. If she had her act together and he definitely did not, all we know is that she was trying to break it off, and she probably realized too late he'd already been past the point of trying to talk down as far as that's concerned, and she's in the hospital right now, regretting the decisions that she made to give him an opportunity and try to love him through it. And a lot of people, and again, this is not a black or white thing, this is a male-female thing.
Absolutely.
How in the world, I know he's bad, girl, but I'm going to fix him. I'm going to make him better.
Mm-hmm.
We going to work together.
Mm-hmm.
I know he has some bad parts, but I love him.
And let me just speak on the woman's perspective. We all have our preferences, and we all tend to go to that stage where we want excitement. And the bad boys tend to be exciting. But, you know, I feel a lot of negative vibes from you two guys, so I guess you were both on the nerd end of that.
Nah.
Well,
but we all go through that phase where we want the
I
bad boy,
ended
we
up-
want the
I love you,
excitement.
baby.
But I think she showed us an example of what happens when you decide that you don't want that anymore. It could go very badly. So that's something that we all consider, and we take chances. When you're with a bad boy, you know you're taking a chance. But when you're young, you don't always do the right thing, and when you're in love, you don't always do the right thing.
Okay, before we go any further, I got to thank the two of you. I got to thank you. You just pointed out, and you just gave a exact reason that our community is falling so far behind.
Okay.
There is a refusal to admit, even when the stats are staring us in the face, that we have issues in our community. We don't even want to address them. Why are we bringing white people in it? Why are we bringing Hispanic people in it? We have issues in the African American community. Our out-of-wedlock birth rate is through the roof.
But
we have to address that. But see, that is a very
human issue and a matter of
oh my gosh. Do you see?
It has absolutely
Ladies and
nothing
gentlemen.
to do with race.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we continue to fall further.
African American problem.
Did I say that?
You are hinting
No,
to it.
I'm not hinting to it. I am in no way. I'm saying that we have to address it. And we cannot address it because we have too many people in our community that are willing to say, oh, you know what, it's a human problem. Look, Denzel Washington makes a movie and he gets respect, right?
Yes.
Now, if you have no Denzel Washington movies for the year and all you get is Tyler Perry movies all year long, okay, you don't have a balance. A white person can have, the whites can have a Jim Carrey. They can have this guy go out there and act a damn fool in a movie and be silly and everything else. There are not enough African-American movies or African-American movies that represent the African-American community for us not to be enraged when someone comes up and they play a buck dancing Uncle Tom on the screen. So we would get upset about that. That's an issue we have to address. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, let's bring in the whites because, you know, white girls, they like bad boys too. No, we got an issue in our community. Let's address that before we start saying the rest of the world needs to be included.
But if you want to put human issues in the context of race, and that's exactly what you're doing.
That's
you're
what we
saying
do.
These problems are specific to the black
no,
community.
that's not it. That's not what I said. I said it has to be addressed in the black community.
Somehow different types
No,
of human beings.
that's not what I said, Arvella. Arvella, I said it needs to be addressed in the black community. But we cannot address it because every time it is brought up, every single time it is brought up, we start hearing people say, oh, it's a white problem too. It's not exclusively blacks. Look, the prisons are disproportionately
I still
packed.
don't understand what personal choices in terms of a relationship have to do with a specific race of people. You keep trying to make
what I'm talking on is a community situation. It's not. It has nothing to do with individuals. We have a community issue. Why don't more cops go to jail for shooting black people? Why isn't that? Because in the media and in movies, the overrepresentation of African American males is that they are violent. So in our community, we end up getting shot. No one gets held accountable for it. Why? Because there's a general belief that African Americans are more violent.
So
Why do our children, one of
I'm
not angry,
I'm
upset. Nope, it's with the liberal mindset. It's with the liberal mindset. It's with the liberal mindset of we can't discuss a single issue in our community unless we bring other people into it. We need to address our... You just said it. I brought up black women, which is a big...
You said, and you're trying to say...
only
black women are attracted to bad boys?
Again,
or you're saying
that never came out of my mouth.
That
never at one point came out of my mouth.
You keep saying... That's exactly what I heard.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
In the black community, but the black community fails to address it. That's why we continue to have problems.
That's right. Exactly.
And I said clearly that this is a personal issue of choice. It has nothing to do with race. You're saying
I didn't bring race in it. I said our community. I said blacks. You guys brought whites in.
It's an issue for the American community.
It's not
when we allow images to be portrayed specifically of black males, where they're constantly portrayed on the big screen in a negative light, yes, that's something we have to consider because that has an impact on the entire community.
Okay, so who addresses it? Avella, no. Who are you? You're right there. You hit it on the head.
Yes.
Now who addresses it?
We address it.
Okay, who is we?
Black people, white people, all people have to address the images that are going.
I'm going to point something out to you. I'm going to point something out to you, and I'll make it. And we'll talk about it as a historical point. Okay. You had slavery. Yes, we did. Okay. We had this big Civil War thing. You remember that, right? You don't remember it, but you know about it. Okay. Then afterwards, we had the black codes. We had Jim Crow, and all of these things that took place. Correct. Okay. There were many whites, including the NAACP, that started to try and protect African American people.
Absolutely.
When did the change in the African American community take place?
What change are you referring to?
The changes as far as equality, the change as far as civil rights legislation. When did all of this start to change? Could it have been during the 50s when the African American community started to stand up for itself and address the issues that were affecting it directly? Would you agree with that?
I would agree that, yes, that was probably when it started.
Okay, so here is the issue, since you guys are confused. I'm trying to make sure we're not confused on this. Yeah. Yes. When we have a problem with the African American community, inside the African American community, with disproportionate representation in prisons, disproportionate representation as far as the out-of-wedlock birth rate goes. Okay? When we have these issues that we must address, why can't we address those issues without pointing out it's a human problem? That's the problem is that we have to address the issue. No one else is going to fix it.
Right, but we can't fix it.
Y'all said y'all were confused. I didn't know.
Systemic problem. It's more of a
It's a systemic problem.
Yes.
Okay, so the system's going to fix it. Okay.
Our entire community. That's all races of Americans. It's a problem with the system.
In our community, there's exactly where I wanted to say I thank you guys. Because you keep proving the point that you keep waiting on others to fix. What question?
You went on and then you didn't really give us a chance to even respond. I'm not
but you talk too slow. So when you come into a situation, when you come into a situation where you have the African American community having issues that are disproportionately affecting the African American community, then that is where you are supposed to put your focus. If you're an African American, that's my little tiny.
Earl, what's your perspective?
How can...
No, don't ask me a question. I want you to give your point.
You gave me...
Give your viewpoint.
But
you asked the question, then when I answer it, you start saying that you don't get a chance to talk. So go ahead and put your viewpoint out there. Don't address mine.
You're going to sit down and you're going to watch this. You're going to say, all right, now I see why he's confused. Because I was all over the place. We went from relationship stuff to now the 50s and slavery. Now we're here. I'm trying to
And you really don't understand that?
I'm trying to
let's answer.
Wow, bro.
Here's how
let him answer the question. Let him
Here's what the issue is. The issue to me is that until we have black lawyers, black judges, black people in the jury, black registered voters that going into those things, until we get all of that, until we address the disparity in white people doing the same crime as the black, and the black getting longer sentences, and all of these other kind of things like that, that has nothing to do with the black community. What we're doing is trying to fix the system. All of these marches about Black Lives Matter and everything else, that whole thing is about looking at the system, the way it is set up, and I believe that we're closer than ever before making progress as far as that's concerned. Is it better than it was in the 60s? Yes. Is it better than it was in the 20s? Yes. Is it better than it was in 1880? We're walking the right direction, but saying that my hood right here is going to change the system, no. If we just police ourselves right here, that's going to stop a judge from throwing a book at a 13-year-old or arresting the kid because he don't have a belt on in school. Those kind of situations that are going on, that's not realistic. Right. That's not realistic. How do we fix our community? We need to work. We need to talk to these kids. We need to mentor them. We need to provide job opportunities.
Which kids are we supposed to talk to?
All
which kids do we talk
about?
to?
The black community.
Okay, I'm asking which kids we talk to.
Of leadership within our system, because what we're talking about is equality. You know, this is our system, this is our country, we're all invested in it. We all need to play an active role when we see injustice. And right now, the issues that we're talking about, the cases that we're talking about, they're prime examples of the problems we have within our system. Can the black community fix these problems alone?
No.
Absolutely not, because this is all of our system, we're all bought into it, and we all have to be active and demand change. That means we all have to get involved and do our part. That's not just the black community, but all segments of our community.
Okay, you're right. They're going to come in and fix our community.
No, now, we work together. Nobody said that they'll come and fix it. We said we work together.
You're right. You're right. We work together and we'll fix all our issues, right?
That's the only way to fix it.
That's right. Okay. I agree. We work together. I agree that that's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. History dictates that it's not going to happen, but I'll let you guys go with what you want to believe.
I want to hear what your solution is. How do we impact this system that is not fair and is not equitable to all of us?
Do you have the Bill O'Reilly video? Can you play that for us, Jesse? So we have a video that was played by...
They're going to answer this question?
Yeah.
Okay, Bill O'Reilly's going to answer
I always answer my questions.
Oh, Lord. Move over. This lightning's going to strike through the... You know, when you was a little kid, a kid tell a lie, you move out the way because, you're going to get struck by lightning.
What is Bill getting ready to set us up for?
I think when we talk about making a point, we
Mr. King is a
understand.
human rights activist.
So now, we have Bill
Somebody
O'Reilly.
from a different race tell us how we can fix ours.
You have the audio? Okay, go ahead.
But evidently he really respects him, so let's hear what Bill has to say.
Luther King III, the eldest son of Martin Luther King Jr., Mr. King is a human rights activist. So where am I going wrong, Mr. King?
Where are you going wrong? I'm not sure that I can say where you're going wrong. What I would say is that our nation does need to hear a unifying message that brings us together. In other words, the African American community may not always suggest that it is constantly a victim, but while there are victim situations, you can overcome those situations and become successful.
All right, and that's what I'm saying. And that's what one of the fact reviewers from Colorado wrote in. But that's not what Samuel L. Jackson is saying. It's not what Al Sharpton is saying. And to some extent, it's not what President Obama is saying. See, I don't mind President Obama saying to LeBron James, hey, look, I'm with you. And that's what he did. But he also has to provide some leadership in the sense of saying just what you said. Just exactly what you said. You know what? We fight the injustice, and we realize it's there, but we love our country. We applaud the progress we've made, and here is a pathway to success. You know, don't abandon your children. Don't get pregnant at 14. Don't allow your neighborhoods to deteriorate into free fire zones. That's what the African American community should have on their T-shirts. Am I wrong?
Well, I think that's a part of it, but that's not the entirety. I do think that my dad
So,
said that
we're back up.
injustice anywhere is a threat to justice
All right, so Bill O'Reilly
right now, the nation
just pointed out some issues that are going on in the African American community. Now, I was just asked if we all, or if we're, do I agree that everyone's supposed to help in this situation? The solution is, when you hear a Bill O'Reilly say this, is he not a part of the system?
Absolutely.
So Bill O'Reilly should be allowed his input into what's going on in the African American community. Would you agree with that? Because he needs to be a part of the solution?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page.
He's entitled
that Bill
to his
O'Reilly,
Entitled to his American
exactly.
Just like everybody else
Thank you,
does. He has
guys.
the
That's
freedom
all.
of
I wanted to
speech.
make sure that we could all at least in that portion of it on the same page, that if we are going to invite everyone into our community to help fix the problems, that does include everyone. So now,
What's the solution?
Yes.
what's the solution?
Yeah,
Yes.
you answer all your questions.
We heard
Okay.
Bill O'Reilly,
What's
and
the
we heard his opinion
Okay.
and his solution. What's
Thank you.
yours?
Part of what I wanted to, the point I wanted to make out is that when you have a person like Bill O'Reilly that comes in and starts preaching to the African American community, then we all have a problem with that. I think Bill O'Reilly needs to mind his own business. That's my point of view. Now, how do we fix the situation? It's very, very, to me, simple, that it has to be done on a local level, that we cannot get marching orders from outside of our community. It has to come from within, that it will take African Americans going to schools and speaking to African American boys. It is not a community as far as we invite everyone in to try and fix our issues, because the truth is that while they're out supporting their families, they're not giving anything up, and the people that have to care about us is us. So the solution, very simply, is to cut out all the, whenever something is said about our community, we start pointing fingers outside the community and saying that they should not have said that. We try to address the issues that are in front of us. We address the out-of-wedlock percentages, which is a misleading, a very, very misleading percentage, because the fact is that most people aren't getting married. That's a long story. But other things that do affect us is the disproportionate representation of African Americans in the judicial system. That's something that we have to address, because we see the solution that others bring into the community is to give stiffer and harsher penalties. So we have to be the ones to address that. So it is not about trying to say, okay, this is the African American community, and yeah, we got our issues, but white people have them too. Disproportionately, we are being affected by an unfair judicial system.
Absolutely.
Disproportionately, we are being affected by out-of-wedlock birth. Disproportionately, we are being underserved in our communities. Disproportionately, our dropout rate is higher than in other races. So I can't say all our black boys are dropping out of school. They say, well, you know what? White kids are dropping out too. We have to fix our problem. So the solution is we fix our problem.
Yes.
Now, that is as simple as I can make it.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, I like that we
Thank you.
need to fix our problems,
Thank
but
you.
we fix our problem within this system. And we are a social system. Our community is a part of the system.
Right.
And what it takes is everybody being aware of the issues, actually
Bill O'Reilly
coming
is.
together
Bill O'Reilly's
and
aware.
trying to impact and push for change.
Exactly.
You know, Bill O'Reilly is a complaining and pointing the fingers at the black community. We all, as a
But is it-
community
what he
of
said-
all races,
Yes.
Is
have
there-
to
is there something
actually
wrong with getting a
work
t-shirt?
together to impact
Is
the
there
system.
something wrong with getting a T-shirt that says "Raise your daughters"?
Hey, the
There's
issue
nothing
is-
wrong with it.
there
Raise
is
your
no-
daughter.
there is-
Raise your sons. That's all of our responsibilities, but not
Okay.
just the black community, the community as a whole.
But
That's
on-
The
all of our
situation is how the judicial system, these boys are getting arrested. These boys have a record.
Breaking the
These
law.
boys cannot get a job because they have a record.
Right.
These boys cannot work or start a job or get a business license because they have a record.
Right.
So this is trying to, how do we fix
Our system.
unemployment?
Our system.
These boys that have a record, made a mistake in kids or whatever. Now they sold drugs to help their mom because they don't have a job or something like that. Whatever. That is, how do we, without bringing jobs and giving these kids something to do, an opportunity to make a living without doing subscribing to the drug culture or something like that. It starts and ends with jobs. It starts and ends there. They don't have a place, especially with they're on probation now or something like that. They don't have a job. They don't pay their probation officer money. They go back to jail. So it's just like until we address the judicial system that unfairly targets these guys and gives them, once you're a felon, that's it. You can't vote. You can't do anything else. What to do with these people that have already made a mistake, already have a strike or something like that? What else can they do besides serve fries at Burger King or something like that? And that's not going to make enough money for them to support their family.
Injustice is not a black issue.
It's all interweaved into
the dropouts. There are these white people that are making these kids drop out of school. They're coming into the black community and saying, "You just made my point." They're coming in and saying they are coming in and saying that, okay, you're not responsible for what you do. Oh, come on, folks. Look, the black community is in trouble. We're going to stay in trouble as long as we continue to bury our heads in the sand. Look, you either learn to have respect for education or, yeah, you end up pushing a broom. You either learn to have respect for education or, yes, you're going to end up with your ass in prison. It's very simple. It's very cut and dry. Now, if you go out and you break the law with the system that we have in place, yeah, it's going to mess up your life. So, yeah, we have issues in the African-American community, but like I said, when we start talking about, oh, it's everybody else's fault, he broke the law, so yeah, he has a record. This is Politico right here on CTV1, and we'll be right back.
Wow.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier, and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV 1, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
All right, welcome back to CTV Politico. This is Earl Sparrow and Arvella Claire and Ron Jenkins. We're just having a great time at CTV Studios in Fort Myers, Florida. We want to talk about and touch on something that we talked about a little earlier, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the greatest, one of the greatest NBA athletes in the history of, well, sports athletes, period. He's an American icon, he's an American hero. He's speaking out about, how do I say this, the confusion with the protests against police brutality and the protests against police, and trying to make a difference between them. Are they one and the same, or are they different? And we have a clip and we're going to talk about that.
It's just a picture. It just has the picture.
Oh, that's the picture?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Kareem says it's not an attack on police. It's an attack on racism. And I think people are missing the boat when it comes to seeing a bunch of black people, and some whites and some Hispanics, some green, purple, and everything else, the majority of black people saying Black Lives Matter, not all lives matter, and all these other things that are going on. But they see, on the other hand, 75%, 85%, 90% white police forces. Mm-hmm. And how do you not make it a black and white thing? Because they're black and the white person killed a black person, so now it's black and white. And they're calling all cops racist, pigs, and all this other kind of stuff like that. And we're getting way off of the topic. I think what I put a post on Facebook a little earlier this week about sympathy and empathy. Empathy means I experience that same thing you experience, and I feel your pain. I understand where you are. Sympathy means I didn't lose my mom, but I lost my grandma, so I kind of understand how it feels to lose a close person to your life or something like that. So I'm here for you. I see you're upset. I want to help, and I want to do everything in my power to make sure you're fine, we're fine. But, and I called out for my friends of all races, creeds, and colors, where is the sympathy to find out, say, hey, I understand that I might get a second shot. I might get, I probably won't get shot on sight like Tamir Rice did because I'm white. You're right. I might get a second chance. I might get them to give me an opportunity to explain where I am or something like that. I'm not assumed guilty as charged or I fit the description or something else because I am white. There is a possibility that black people do go through more racially profiled, or they do look like a person, or they're assumed to have a gun or something like that. And for me, because I'm not black, I don't go through that like you do. That's not right. Let's work together and fix that. Let's see why people assume all blacks have a gun. Even if he's reaching for his keys, he was reaching for his gun, pop, pop, pop.
I think that's what we're all experiencing. We see the injustices that are going on by these cases that are being played out. And part of my frustration was hearing the media's approach to these different things that are going on in our community. What I've heard is that, okay, because of these incidents and the people being out in the street and stating that Black Lives Matter, hands up, I can't breathe, somehow that's demeaning to the current incident with the officers being slain. I don't see why the media needs to make that comparison. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. Is the march about being anti-police? No, it's not. The march is about actually having some impact and changing what's going on in our system. The march is about the injustices that we see going on in terms of our judicial system, This is an effort for people to organize, get out, and push to change our laws and the way that individuals are treated once they come in contact with this system. It should be equitable. And that's what they're marching about, because the perception is that it is not. Now, with the case of the officers being slain, does that mean because you're marching that you don't have respect for the police officers losing their lives? Absolutely not. But that's the message being portrayed in some of the media, that because you're out marching, you're disrespecting what has happened with these police officers. We're saying it's an injustice, it's a crime. What happened to the police officers affect our entire community. We are all in mourning because of what happened to these officers. But we also all should be concerned about the injustices going on with our legal system. That's what the march is about, and I think that's what the focus has to be about. They're saying you can't do one and the other. You can't support police officers and be out marching. Right. I think that's a false argument. I think you can do just that, because our presence in the street means that we're concerned, we're activated, and we're motivated to bring about change. If we address the injustices in our system, then we can address knowing that our police officers have our respect, have our support as members of this community. We will not be an organized society without law enforcement. We need them there. That's totally separate from the issue with the young men who lost their lives. That's totally separate from the injustices in our legal system. And I want the media to do a better job of portraying what's really going on with the marchers and what's really going on with with the concern the public has about the police officers losing their lives. I think there's some confusion on the issues, and I think that's done deliberately.
There's a video that is making the rounds on YouTube. It's making the rounds on Fox News, that the people that are protesters are saying, "What do we want? Kill a cop. What do we want? Kill a cop. What do we want? Kill a cop."
I heard that.
And I think it was in Cincinnati. They edited the whole 30-minute chop. What do we want? We want the racists, the killer cops, to go to jail or something like that. And it was a longer chant, but they cut it and spliced it to drive up these black people that are mad, that are protesting, hate cops. They hate law and order. They're savages. They're this and that. And instead of talking about, yeah, maybe they should get more than 2 seconds before they get shot.
And I guess
maybe,
that's
you know, but that's something but that means that I have to admit that maybe people don't live maybe I live a little better than other people. Maybe I have that white privilege that people are talking about more and more and more actually does exist. You know what? Maybe I do get the benefit of a second chance or a doubt. I always, because of my skin. Maybe
so
they
what?
don't.
That doesn't matter, because white people are in the system too, right? Right?
Again, when they do get in the system, since we're talking about that, yes, let's talk about that.
I just want to.
When they commit the same crime, they serve shorter sentences, and that's fact.
That was.
How do we address that? Is there a problem with that, or is that
discredited?
fine?
That was discredited years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was discredited by whom?
That was
I didn't
discredited
hear
years
that.
Maybe
ago.
Bill O'Reilly discredited.
The FBI, actually. So what we end up with is a situation where, statistics, we can throw them out there. We can say all of these things and all of this. The fact is, the media is not to blame. What's happening right now is that the protesters are on one side, and they're saying we're here. Law enforcement officers are saying we're on this side. So we have a situation where, yeah, the media is doing its job for once, and it is not taking sides. That's an issue with a lot of people.
Well, I disagree with that. I think you got two people that disagree with that.
Oh, of course
My
you do.
question, and I keep asking,
Media is not
the
taking
media
sides.
reporting or is the media creating the story? Are they making the news or
Right.
are they reporting the news?
Exactly. So you have Mayor de Blasio, who until Saturday was the darling of this situation because he was willing to tell his son to watch out for law enforcement.
And why would he
Okay?
have to tell his son?
Okay.
What makes his son
Because he's
different?
African American.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'm the one that said that.
Okay.
So now, when we take and we look at Bill de Blasio being put in a situation where, okay, he said that about his son, what happened? Law enforcement said, okay, you're turning your back on us. The media reported it, okay? Now, this week, law enforcement...
Was that a true story? To say this is the experience I have with my African-American son?
It's very true.
Is that turning his back on law
No, it's
enforcement?
not. No, it's not.
So that's
but
what the media reported.
But what should the media say? That he didn't say it? Should the media say that the
The
fraternal...
story is this officer, this de Blasio, who has a African-American son,
Right.
has to explain
I've read
to
that
his
several
son
times. I've
that,
read that.
his life is in jeopardy when
Right.
he comes into contact with police
I've read
officers.
that.
Now, if he had a white son, would he have to have that
No.
same
And he said
story to report to the media?
No, you're right. He said
okay,
that.
but that tells you that there's an injustice in our system.
Exactly.
And African Americans, like you normally tell us, they can't fix this alone.
Exactly.
This is a system-wide problem.
Exactly.
It's a systematic problem. And
But-
it takes people taking to the street, people
Again-
promoting change in the laws and the treatment of individuals
we were just
to
talking
actually
about-
bring about the type of change that
we
we
were
really
just
want in our
we
neighborhood.
were just
Isn't that
talking
correct?
we were just talking about the media's portrayal of this situation.
Absolutely.
The media, for once, is being balanced, in my humble
What's
opinion.
balanced about reporting that
What
he's
the
turned
what
his
the
back-
cop said,
He's turned his back on law enforcement.
Exactly.
What's balanced about that?
because the media didn't say that according to us they turned their back. The Fraternal Order of Police said it. The media is just reporting what the police officer
Let me
said.
tell you what the media is doing.
Does the police have a reason? Does the police have a reason to want the marches to stop?
Yeah.
Does the police have a reason to want to think that the leadership is somehow denying them? Do they have a reason to do those things?
Okay, now-
And is it because
Here's the
they
thing.
actually feel that the public has turned their back on law
I
enforcement?
don't think so. I don't think so. What I've seen is that the media has been reporting the story that is taking place. Now, the issues that everyone is having is that the media won't take sides. When you see both sides complaining about the media, then you know that the media is doing its job. We have both sides of this situation complaining that they're too protesters. The other side is saying they're too pro-law enforcement. So I think that that is a good indicator that the media, for once, is doing what it's supposed to do, and that is report the news, not be a part of it.
But here's what
I
I've
disagree
found.
with
Here's
that.
the problem that I have with the way media is being covered. When a young man got killed in Fort Myers, his mother, Angela McClary, put something on my Facebook page about that. She said, when he died, they put up his mugshot. My son was murdered. Instead of putting a picture up, they put him up as a thug that got killed in the streets, a dog, dead, dirty dog. That is...
They reported that he had a criminal record.
They report that has absolutely nothing to do.
Yes,
and
it has
that's
everything
slap in
to
the
do
face
with it.
to the
Unfortunately,
family. That is your opinion. Can I share mine
unfortunately,
and
no,
finish my
no,
statement,
that's
please?
silly.
That is
Unfortunately,
not fair that the
we
media is
live in a
going to go ahead
situation
and
where,
demonize somebody
because
that
the
had nothing-
media,
the fact that
the
he was-
gentleman gets shot
the fact
while
that he
he's,
was killed
because whatever happened,
has
if he has a
nothing to do
record
with the
of dealing
fact that he had a
drugs,
career.
that is news.
He-
If
when
there
those
was a
police officers
possibility that he
died,
lost his
nobody
life
combed through
because
his
he was
records and
a
see what they did
criminal,
and all this
then
other
there
stuff.
is
They
a
didn't go through his
big
high school thing to
indicator
find out what
that
happened.
yes,
It was- I'm
we
just gonna
need
keep
to
talking
report
because
on
you
that.
can keep
I
talking
hear
too.
you. I hear both of you. You're saying there's nothing wrong with putting up a mugshot, even though he had nothing to do with doing
nothing to do
anything
with the
illegal.
If he died of natural
But
if he died
the
of
media-
natural causes,
just a
you're
minute,
right. They shouldn't have put
The media
put
made
it
a
up.
choice to create a story.
That's not
and
creating a
the story
story.
and creating an image. And the image is that this was a criminal, so why should we be concerned that
That's
he
not.
lost his
Who
life?
said-
That
who
is
felt
exactly-
that way?
that is
That's
exactly what
an
it is.
image
Who felt
does.
that way?
That's
In
what-
your
I feel that way.
that's
opinion.
what- okay.
Thanks.
So
in
that-
your opinion, you feel that way. So the media puts a mugshot up of someone who was killed in a drive-by. I'm sorry, but from working in the media, if you are killed in a drive-by and you have a police record, then yes, that is going to be a part of the story, because if you have a record, there's a chance that criminal activity
when-
could. It doesn't say that it is, But it is a
But
possibility.
it's that
But
media's
it's
responsibility to
leading
put that in
the
their
story.
eye.
Definitely.
It's creating
Definitely.
the story.
That's
Exactly.
That's
for
what
the
we're saying.
family.
We're asking
talking about
them to do
respecting
their
the family
job,
of
which
the
is
cops,
to report.
the
He should-
passed away,
he
and
shouldn't-
respect the family of the deceased.
He should respect his family by not breaking the law. But of course, we should overlook that. So,
How
yeah.
is he breaking the law if he gets killed? If he gets killed, we're going to run
So he
the
wasn't
mug
breaking the
story.
law?
And I had a
He
problem
wasn't
with the
breaking the
newspaper.
law?
If someone gets killed.
He wasn't breaking the law.
Was he breaking the law at the time he was killed?
Exactly.
But the
I don't know. So what's the media supposed to say, that he wasn't?
Was
Oh,
that
let's
the
put this
story?
picture
Put
up
a
of him.
mugshot
Was
up
that
there
the story?
and put that in their mind.
Exactly.
Enough
Was that
Dirty
the
Dog
Most
story?
certainly.
Club died.
If he gets killed in a drive-by, that is most certainly a part of the story. That's cut and dry. You have a record of being involved in criminal activity. You are killed in a drive-by. If Al Capone had been shot while coming out of a cigar factory in Tampa, Florida, instead of dying of syphilis and being crazy down in Miami, then the story would have had a picture of Al Capone with his picture or whatever, his mugshot from, what was the name of that
I'm driving down
prison?
the street in the car,
Mhm.
and I'm killed in a drive-by.
Right.
I don't want you going back through my legal history. Stress the fact that this is actually committed.
A
this
crime was committed, and it's a
Let's not
possibility
look
that
at-
criminal
let's not
activity
try
was.
me,
Arvella,
you know, when
the,
I'm not
the crime,
there to
a crime was
defend
committed.
myself,
A crime was
because I'm
committed.
not the one that
And so you're gonna blame the
perpetrated the
victim.
crime.
That's not blaming the
That's
victim.
blaming the victim.
That's
It's-
saying that
it's
there's a
assassinating
possibility.
the character of the deceased.
That's saying that there's he
Absolutely.
assassinated his. He got convicted of a crime, and his character's been assassinated because he got convicted of a crime. Oh my God!
Wrong.
So,
Wrong.
so
No.
If you've ever
can't
committed
pull
it. Here we
a
go.
crime,
Good try,
if you've
though.
ever
Good
committed
try.
a crime,
That ain't gonna
and
fly.
even
Wow.
if you do your time, there's no way to make amends and leave your past in the past.
no,
Always
not
gonna be
not if you
together.
get shot in a drive-by. It's not. It's going to come up. If you're a dope dealer,
So,
you
so
get
come up
killed in
or
a
put it in the
drive-by.
front page. That should be front page story that somebody, he died in that, he was murdered.
We're going to show you his
He has
mug
this, and
shot.
we're going to show you
So
his,
you're gonna
and here's his
limit
record.
I mean, you might
your
not like it.
sympathy,
Here's his
You
crime
may not
record,
like
too.
it. You may
for this
consider it to not be
particular
fair.
victim.
That's your business, too.
You may
so.
consider it to not be fair, but it is very relevant that he had a criminal history.
Okay.
We don't like it, of course, but unfortunately, that's the
I think
news.
this summarizes everything. You just told us it's okay for the media to create the news.
That's not
You know,
creating the
not
It
news.
is
just
creating the
report.
news.
That was pointing out
But
the
Story's
hey,
not
by
that
pointing out
had
that
a
he
criminal
has an
record.
arrest history.
The
That's
record
not-
wasn't the issue.
Correct.
His
Wow,
past
guys.
behavior
Okay.
wasn't the
The issue was
Okay,
that he was
I'm
murdered.
afraid it is, and I know it's frustrating, but that's the truth. If you have a criminal record and you are killed in that situation, your record is going to come up. I know it may not seem fair to you, but that's the way it is.
No,
All
I
right, this
understand.
is Politico.
I understand. That's
This
the way
is
it
Politico,
That's the system.
right here
We're
on
fighting it.
CTV1. You guys have a great holiday. I'm Muslim, so I don't say Merry Christmas.
I'll say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, folks. We'll see you, inshallah, next week. Thanks for joining us here at Politico. I am RJ.
Arvella Claire.
This is Earl Sparrow.
Guys, have a great holiday, and we'll see you next time.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.